Live. I'm going for it. Here we go.
Extra.
Well, there goes that lovely intro. The quarantine may be over, but the spooks have just begun. Welcome to Quarantine Spook Show, home of spooks far and wide. I'm Kerezsi, your host. I have an audience. There's a fine fire going. It's a lovely Tuesday evening. You can submit titles for this spook show on emailing quarantinespookshow@gmail.com or following Quarantine Spook Show at QuarantineSpook on Twitter, and also just contacting me directly through one of those channels if you have any spook inquiries, any of the sort. Now the first card I draw will be the name of the entire evening story, and that story will have 4 installments to it. So tonight's story will be called Too Much Lovecraft Man.
That was you. No, it wasn't.
It was so you. So every story this evening will revolve around the concept Too Much Lovecraft Man. So if you thought Lovecraft was too much, you're about to get a little more.
Oh no.
I have mine. Now, the first installment of Too Much Lovecraft Man is called Slither.
That's you.
Professor adjusted his reading glasses, looking over the student's paper. The student sitting across his desk during the professor's personal office hours, waiting for feedback on his paper. The professor took off his reading glasses and just asked bluntly, "Jimmy?" "Yes, Professor?" "Do you read Lovecraft?" www.toomuchlovecraft.com, and typed in a topic so that an algorithm could compute a perfect. They don't live in a city underneath the ocean. Jimmy readjusted his seat once again. He said, "Well, Professor, I'm telling you, I wrote this essay from the heart." The professor, knowing that he can't charge him with anything without proving that he plagiarized his essay, just said, "Alright, Jimmy, you just gotta write this essay again. No Lovecraft this time." And Jimmy said, "Well, there wasn't Lovecraft in the first place, but I'll rewrite the essay, you know. Same techniques as I always did." So, the office hours ended. Jimmy left, leaving his campus, going to his apartment where he lived, just off campus, contemplating his next move. He went into his room and started hanging out with his pet snake, fed him a rodent, watched him slither around, and he just said, I don't really know what to do about this. I don't really want to take ecosystem biology. I just want to read Lovecraft all day. I can't get enough Lovecraft. In my opinion, there's no such thing as too much Lovecraft. He thought throughout the entire night, trying to... Doom 666, excuse me. Maybe they have some essay forgery techniques that I could use, so I can get away with writing this paper and spend all my days just reading Lovecraft and playing Lovecraft games. I can't get enough of Lovecraft. So I went on Doom. He went on Doom666.com and saw a lot of cool horror imagery, a lot of fan art of Lovecraft, and some Poe illustrations, some Clive Barker stuff, and all that and whatnot. Some Hereditary fan art, Midsummer fan art. And he's just like, oh, this is pretty cool. And he saw linked for a essay forgery site. So he did the same thing he did before, not really learning from his mistakes. Typed in the subjects for this essay forgery service, typed in snakes, ecosystem, all that jazz. Same things he did with the first paper. So it only took a matter of minutes for the website to, the AI and the website to pump out an essay. And he read it, and it kind of just looked like a typical college student essay, generic because it's an AI system and it's not perfect. But, he thought it was good enough. We could at least score him a C, and it could come off as if he wrote it. So he turned to a snake, and he's just like, I'm totally going to pass this class. So he emails the essay, waits another couple weeks, and his professor calls up again and asks him to visit him in his office, and Jimmy does so. So Jimmy shows up, and the professor is sitting in his chair once again at his desk. He has the paper in hand. This time he looks steamed, really angry. And he says, Jimmy, we talked about this last time. I know you forged this essay. I don't know if it's some sort of fan fiction you accidentally submitted, but I'm gonna have to give you an F. And Jimmy said, No, I read it. I wrote it. It's about it's ecosystem. It's about snakes. It's about all the stuff we're learning. It's just algorithmically. I couldn't fail. And the professor says, Jimmy, this is just another Lovecraft knockoff thing. I don't want to read a story about your snake escaping and then starting a colony of snakes that try to take over the earth. And it's just, Jimmy said, what? Let me see that. He reads the essay, and it wasn't the same essay that he submitted in the first place. It was a story for sure, but the protagonist was Jimmy, which was his name, and it was about his snake escaping and then starting a colony of snakes with crossing over to the interdimensional space place, the deep cosmic horror where Lovecraftian creatures live, and starting a colony and to try to infiltrate the human species. And Jimmy said, no, I didn't write this. And the professor said, yeah, I know you didn't. You're failing my class. You can retake it next semester, but personally I don't want to be your professor at this point. So Jimmy stormed off in a fume. He's just like, oh, damn it, I don't know what could have went wrong, My technique was flawless. I don't understand. So he took the rest of his classes for that day, and then he went back to his apartment, but his snake was gone. And he said, oh no. My snake, it's missing. He tells his people in his apartment to keep out for a large python snake. He looks around the neighborhood, even calls animal control out of desperation, but to no avail. He searched all night. He wasn't wearing shoes because he ran out in a quick storm, and his feet were bleeding by the end of the night, as he just searched all night for his dear, dear snake. So as he went to bed that evening, he heard his apartment door open. He thinks, what the hell is that? He goes to his living room and sees what's up. And then there's 7 snakes, all lined up, all vertically, half on the ground, half vertically upright, reaching half of his height. And the head snake comes forward and it says, "Ah, Jimmy, yes. We've come to you for answers." And Jimmy says, "Answers? What do you mean?" And the snake says, "Well, the first of our kind escaped from your apartment, entered the cosmic horror place, and then started a whole new species of super spooky cosmic horror snake. And now we want to live among the humans, and we think you can help us." And Jimmy says, "No, I'm not involved. No, I don't want anything to do with that. No, that's bananas. Snakes should either be in the wild or be in tanks." And the snake nodded and says, "Yes, we disagree. We want to free ourselves. We want to live among you. We think we can travel space together. We think we can discover new planets, new sustainable ways of living." And Jimmy says, No, I'm not interested in that at all." And the snake says, "Well, if you don't comply with us, then we'll have to get on the offensive. We'll have to infiltrate your species and try to learn all we can to cause fractures in the flaws of your species, and then eventually overtake you." And Jimmy just thought about it and he said, "Well, I don't like that either." And the snake says, "Well, you have to choose something. Because if we can't live with you, then we will live against you." And Jimmy says, "All right, well, I'm not crazy about that idea, but let's go for it." So the days, weeks, and months go by. Jimmy helps him build things. Starts off small, building nests and whatnot, then trying to file for citizenship, and eventually they find a nice plot of land by a swamp and try to become their own sovereign nation. Snakes didn't need a lot of space. Usually they'd be on the outskirts of cities, building their small colonies, out of the way of humans so they didn't really know, except for the deep seeds of government and whatnot, because they didn't want the public to know about these sentient snakes living among humans. So then the tasks become a little bit more strange. They want to ask Jimmy about marketing advice. And Jimmy says, "Marketing advice? Why would you want to know about that?" And the snake snakes say, oh, well, we just want to know, we want to learn more about analytics, you know, data collecting and whatnot, you know, just to learn more about the humans, you know, to enable small businesses to, you know, to become stronger and all that, to learn as much as their clientele as possible, as we do for us. And Jimmy says, that sounds really shady. I don't think I want to help you with that. And the snake says, but Jimmy, we want to gather as much intel about the humans as possible. This is the best way we can. And Jimmy says, well, that sounds very fishy. I don't think I truly want anything to do with that. And the head snake looks very solemnly at Jimmy, and he says, oh, Jimmy, if you won't comply with, since I am part of the snake government, if you won't comply with us, we'll have to put you under arrest. But Jimmy says, but under arrest? But no, I'm from America, you know, I'm not even part of your colony. And the snake says, yes, we know, it may be dicey in terms of international relations, but we have our own laws and we abide by them. So if you're on our turf, you must abide by them as well. And it was true. Jimmy spent a lot of time in the swamps around the cities, around the country, trying to enable the snake bases one by one. He thought he was doing small, minuscule tasks just to help them out a little bit, but really the snakes were slowly becoming a world power without the humans knowing it. And Jimmy says, oh, I'm in too deep, man, I gotta get out of here. And then the head snake says, seize him! So without much effort, several pythons wrap themselves around Jimmy. That's how they arrest people, going for one limb at a time. They read him their version of the Miranda rights, which was not really, didn't give much Jimmy any weight or any leverage of any rights of some sort. So eventually the snakes throw him into a snake prison, international prison, their version of Guantanamo Bay. And Jimmy says, oh, let me out of here. No! I have a right to a fair trial! And the snake says, no, not in snake country. And thus concludes the first story.
It's a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Snake get mo.
Now, the second story is called Too Cool for School. It was something she got from the dining hall, which was never really good to begin with, but it seemed to become worse over time. Since she started as a freshman, her and her friends would always joke how they were poisoning the food and that she was becoming more malnourished the longer she was a student at a university. And now it's getting to the point where her health was being severely damaged. She was a lot thinner and paler than she used to be, and she was getting very disturbed. And so she opened her notebook and pulled out a PDF of a Lovecraft story to try to ease herself of her nutritional pain. And then her friend Cindy comes up and she says hi. And then Miranda just leans real close to Cindy and she asks, Cindy? Cindy says, yeah. So she goes to the cafeteria after it's closed. Sneaks in the back halls, tries to investigate, really gumshoe style. But then she goes into the back freezer and tries to find what, she doesn't know who to contact, which of her school fellows would really be receptive to her discoveries and whatnot. She's not sure if she should call the local newspaper or some sort of large journalistic investigative team or something. But feeling like a Lovecraft protagonist, really trying to take matters into her own hands, she decides to confront the dean himself. So she storms into the office without an appointment, blowing past the receptionist. At this point, she goes into the dean's office, and he's just eating lunch, some sort of takeout from a local Chinese food restaurant, not eating the school food, mind you. And Miranda says, "Dean, the food. I don't know if you know about this. But the meat they're giving us are all just rodents. There are some mice and some rats. I even saw a ferret or two." And then the dean shoots up and he says, "Keep your voice down." And he closes the door behind her and locks it. And she says, "What's going on? What are you doing?" And then he says solemnly, "You see, we're accredited by snakes." And Miranda says, "What?" "Yes. You see, this isn't known to the public eye, but throughout the past several years, there's been an underground snake colony cohabiting with the United States citizens. They have deals with the government and corporate powers. They have all the rights we do, and they can draft all the contracts we do as well. And this university is owned by snakes, so we have to comply with snake regulations. Some people who go to this school are snakes in disguise." "That's impossible. Couldn't be." And the dean says, "Oh yeah? I've seen you hang around with your friend Cindy. Why don't you go find out how she really spends her time?" And Miranda, looking a bit concerned, says, All right, I will. I'll call that bluff." So that night, she goes to Sydney's apartment. And she says, "Hey, Cindy." And then Cindy says, "Yeah, what's up?" And Miranda's just like, "Alright, this is gonna sound a little bit strange, but, are you secretly a snake?" And Cindy's looking a bit embarrassed. And she says, Yes, indeed I am." And Miranda says, "Well, the dean told me that this whole university was run by snakes. Certainly you wouldn't be part of that as well." And Cindy says, "Yeah, that's why they serve rodents in the cafeteria." And Miranda says, "You knew the whole time?" And Cindy said, "Oh, grow up, Miranda. At this point, the whole planet is being run by snakes. There's more snakes than humans at this point. We've been slowly abducting humans and taking their bodies so that we can live among them. And before you know it, this whole planet will be run by snakes." And Miranda, feeling shocked and appalled, collapses against the wall and just slowly leans down, hyperventilating, taking a lot of breaths, trying to perceive this new, harsh reality that she never knew of. Cindy lets her absorb the truth for a bit. And then Cindy says, "Are you gonna be okay? You know, we can talk about it. You know, I know some therapists that can that talk to humans about coexisting with snakes. Intergalactic Lovecraftian horror snakes. We've mutated past the point of snakes. Now we're also amphibious as well. We're building a city underneath the sea. A lot of people are calling us Lovecraftian, which we don't like and consider derogatory. But are you gonna be okay to live with this and all that?" And Miranda says, "Yeah, as much as I'm going to, I suppose." So later that week, she purchases a pistol, in a bit of a trance when she does it, and then she goes visit Cindy again. And then shoots her, and then Cindy falls, screaming, asking why? And then Cindy's body slowly rips open, and then a snake emerges, but not just any regular snake. This one had dark red eyes, black and blue scales, some feelers and whiskers, truly appearing like a Lovecraftian beast from all those stories. And then she goes to the dean's office. And then the dean says, "Oh, what do you want now?" And then Miranda fires at him as well. And then he falls, and like Cindy, a snake emerges and slithers away so that he wouldn't be hurt. And Miranda goes back to where she lives. You know, she lives on campus, really contemplating all of this. And then she hears an alarm go. It's an announcement to track down Miranda from the crime that she's committed and to apprehend her before the local police does. So Miranda leaves her pad and then sees a lot of Lovecraftian snakes come out. And they all try to follow her. Eventually a swarm is tracking her down off campus. But then, before they can catch her, she just gets into her car and goes. Alright. I'm gonna...
Part 2.
Now I'm gonna get started on this third story real quick. After I replenish my whiskey a little bit.
That's right.
Now this third story of Too Much Lovecraft Man. The third story is called Roast Blast. Roast beasts. Alright, there it is. Alright. This next story is called Roast Beast. Donegan was watching a football game on Thanksgiving. It was the Seahawks versus the Patriots. He was heavily invested in it, hoping the Seahawks would win. He's with his family and whatnot, and then he shouts to his wife, "How much longer is dinner gonna be?" And then Miranda just says, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be ready soon." She's cooking a specific roast beef that she likes to cook every Thanksgiving. She knows most families would do like some sort of bird, but she had a specific roast beast that she likes to cook. It was a very normalized dish in her society, but not everyone cooked it on Thanksgiving. She was very excited to do so. As everyone would have mentioned, it's the best roast beast in town. It was nice that her family was sitting and watching football, conversing. It wasn't often that they all got together. Sometimes they get together on Christmas, but often they like to do their own thing. But during Thanksgiving, it was special. It was when everyone could get together and celebrate. So Miranda was cooking the roast beef. It was almost finished in the oven. And her cousin was helping her out as well. Her cousin was named Samantha. And Samantha was just like, "Oh, this is a really good roast beef you're cooking." And then Miranda said, no, roast beast. And Samantha says, "Oh, that's a nice little cutesy name for it." And Miranda's just puzzled and says, "Oh no, it's not a cutesy name. That's the name of the dish. Have you not heard of it?" And Samantha laughed and she says, "Oh no, I've just been in Greenland for the past 10 years, you know. I don't really know how many changes that have existed, you know. How many changes happen in culture, you know, besides all the political turmoil and whatnot. And Miranda laughed, not really registering what political turmoil she referred to. But then she thought about it. And she asked Samantha, "Do you not know?" And Samantha responded, I'm not sure what you think I don't know. What do you think I don't know? So Miranda just grabbed Samantha really quick, making sure no one else in the family noticed, and then brought her into the bathroom and closed the door. And then Miranda said to Samantha, "You know about the snake thing, right?" And Samantha said, No, I'm not sure what you mean." And Miranda just said, "Have you seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers?" And Samantha says, Yeah. And Miranda says, "Well, there's these Lovecraftian snakes that colonized all throughout the country and then all throughout the world, and now they live among us. And then they started body snatching everyone, and it's at the point where almost everyone is some mysterious interdimensional space snake." And Samantha said, "Oh no, that's ridiculous." Miranda said, "No, don't worry, I'm not a snake. However, you have to be careful what you say. Don't say anything that could offend snakes or something. Because if they know you're human, they'll consume you. And then take your body and use your body as a suit to live among the rest of the humans. It's at the point where this society is practically run by Lovecraftian snakes at this point. I'm still human because I managed to pretended to be a snake. But you have to pretend to be a Lovecraftian snake person as well, so that no one's onto you or anything like that." And then Samantha says, no, that's ridiculous. This isn't a really good joke, And Miranda just looks deeply into Samantha's eyes, like two relatives that haven't seen each other in ages, that grew up together. And Miranda just said, as plainly as she could, "I'm not joking. Don't let anyone know that you're not a snake in disguise. I don't want you to be consumed by them. I need a human in my life that I can converse with to stay sane." And Samantha just understood the seriousness of what Miranda said. But Samantha just said, "Well, I need a little bit more proof than that." And Miranda said, "You want proof? Follow me." And then Samantha followed Miranda into the kitchen. And Miranda just bluntly said, "Look what I'm cooking." And Samantha reluctantly looked into the oven. And she saw that the roast beast wasn't some cutesy name, but it was a person. A human body being cooked inside of the oven, compressed and stuffed in a way just like a pig would. Samantha backed up and said, "Oh my God," and it got attention from the football goers in the living room. And then Miranda grabbed Samantha and just said, calm down. This is what we always eat, right? I know it's not cooked yet, but once it's cooked, it's gonna be delicious. We're gonna eat it as a lovely family Thanksgiving meal. Samantha tried really hard to keep her composure. She was shaking her head furiously. She said to herself, I don't know. But Miranda said, this will be a great meal and a great Thanksgiving. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Miranda muttered. And then Samantha almost unwillingly said, okay, I'm ready to eat this. And Miranda nodded and said, good, because it's almost ready. The timer for the oven went off, and then Miranda pulled out the roast beast, which was just some poor human at the wrong place at the wrong time, being used as a cosmic, interdimensional snake cuisine. She shouts to her husband Donegan and everyone else watching football and just hanging out, socializing. She gleefully says, dinner's ready. So she puts the plate in the center of the table and starts carving it bit by bit. And then Donegan says, no, I think Samantha should carve the beast. I thought, no, this isn't my family. These are all snakes. And then she serves it on a plate and passes it to Donegan, and he passes it around, and Samantha carves it and passes it down one by one so that everyone can have a bite. She passes it to Miranda. Miranda takes a plate. She nods at Samantha and says, thank you. I'm very excited to eat this roast beast. And then Samantha says, yes, I am too. So eventually everyone has a plate of roast beast, and they all start digging into it. And then Samantha takes small bites of it. She tries to focus on the size at first, but inevitably she has some of the roast beast. And she didn't want to admit it, but she thought it was pretty good. Donegan shouts, oh yeah, this is a good one, this person definitely kept fit for sure. And Miranda said, oh yeah, totally, they went to the gym all the time, And Samantha just nodded, just like, oh yeah, definitely. Still meekly eating the roast beast, reluctantly, while these Lovecraftian cosmic snakes were hanging out among her. And then Donegan says, oh, how about that Jimmy guy being executed? Did you hear about that? And another family member says, oh, no, I haven't. And it's just like, oh yeah, apparently this Jimmy guy, betrayed his country, right when that thing happened. Then everyone laughed, and Miranda and Samantha also laughed, though not quite finding it as funny as everyone else, because they weren't cosmic snakes who secretly took over the world. And then Donegan said, oh yeah. But yeah, he got executed. He was in prison for a number of years. He was a big help to the cause at first, but then he betrayed us, and then suffered in prison for a number of years. And yeah, they finally just pulled the plug today, And then another family member says, "Oh, well, good riddance. He was a traitor to this country." And then all the rest of the family start talking politics. They're technically talking snake politics, but it's not something that Miranda or Samantha are really in tune with. Miranda has watched the snake news. She knew the right talking points in terms of, what the snakes would like to talk about, but she certainly didn't believe it. And it was very hard for the whole thing for Samantha to sit through. So she just sat alone the whole time. And then as the night unwinded, everyone, was drinking and eating more and being full of mirth. And then one by one, everyone starts to leave as the day winds down. But Samantha sticks around longer than anyone expected. And Donegan says to Miranda, "Alright, good night. I'll see you up there, babe." And then Miranda says, "Oh, thanks, yeah. I'll see you up there, I'm going to bed pretty soon anyway." And then Donegan says, Cool, alright." So he gives Miranda a kiss, and Miranda turns her face, so it's a cheek kiss. And then Donegan goes upstairs. And then Samantha and Miranda are alone. And Samantha turns to Miranda and says, "Miranda, let's escape. Let's get out of here." And Miranda says, "No. I tried that. These snakes are everywhere. There's no escaping them. If they find out about you, then they'll eventually take your body and just use it as a suit. And once there's enough snakes that pervade society, then eventually it'll just be a snake-filled rock, essentially. It's Lovecraftian horror come to life. Where these horrible things are normalized. I have to leave. And if you won't come with me, then you may never see me again." So Samantha storms through her car. And Miranda says, Wait. Let me pack and I'll come with you." And Samantha says, "Really?" And Samantha says, "Really?" And then Miranda says, "Yes, I'll join you." So Miranda goes upstairs. And Donegan is sleeping upright in his bed. And he says, "Oh, what's going on out there? Why is Samantha shouting?" And Miranda says, "Oh, she's just had a long day. We're getting into kind of a fight." And then Donegan says, "Oh, well, it sounds like that, she wasn't into dinner at all." And then Miranda says, "Oh, no, it's just, she's not like much of a meat eater, she's been a vegetarian for a very long time." And then Miranda tries to pack very quickly without Donegan noticing. And Donegan says, "Oh, you're packing." And Miranda says, Yeah, I'm just going on a trip, me and Samantha, we're just gonna be gone for a few days, really catch up, and then I'll be right back." And then Donegan looked at Miranda and said, "Well, you liked the meal, didn't you? You did cook it after all. It's your signature recipe that you've made for a number of years." And Miranda says, Yeah, I know. It's just, we're just, me and Samantha, we're just gonna head out for a bit. We'll be back in a few days. We're trying to be spontaneous and all that. And then Donegan said, Miranda, you're not human, are you? And Miranda said, What? What do you mean? And then Donegan said, I saw the look on your face when that Jimmy guy was being executed for betraying the snakes in their early phase of colonization. You're a snake, aren't you? And Miranda says, oh, well, they didn't mention that in the news. And Donegan said, well, yeah, they didn't mention the news because it's not time yet. At some point, the snakes arise, but we have to be discreet. But a lot of people are snakes at this point, and you're a snake, aren't you, right? And Miranda says, yeah, I'm totally a snake, you know. So I've got the black and blue scales and all that, the whiskers, all the Lovecraftian features that us cosmic snakes have. And then Donegan says, well, show me. And Miranda says, what? And Donegan says, yeah, you heard me. Show me that you're a snake. I've never seen you in your snake form before. You said you were just shy about it on our wedding day. But I think now's a better time than any to show me your snake form. And Miranda says, yeah, well, you want me to show you? I'll show you. So Donegan sits on the bed, watching and waiting. And then Miranda just stands upright. And knowing that she hasn't finished packing, she just grabs her suitcase, zippers it, and then runs out of the room. And Donegan says, hey, get back here! And Miranda runs out, and Samantha sees her. And she says, what's going on? And Miranda says, drive. And then Miranda tosses her suitcase into the car, and then jumps into the car as Samantha's going forward, and Donegan's running after them. And then Samantha drives off, seeing Donegan disappear in the distance. And then Miranda looks back at the life that she built, and now that she's leaving behind, being free to live as a human, like she always was and always will be. And then she turns to Samantha and says, oh, we did it. We finally did it. Now we can live and be free. And then Samantha shouts too. She celebrates like, yeah. But then Miranda says, so what now?
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna read the final story of the evening with snakes and Lovecraft. All right. I like this title. This next story is called A Ship with No Captain. and Samantha, they eventually, on their journeys on the road, they found other humans trying to escape the snakes as well. People like them were on the fringes of society, rogue humans, having nowhere else to go. They would travel as a caravan, living under bridges, living in the outskirts of cities, trying to raid food trucks so that they could eat for themselves. They lived on these fringes when it was almost to the point that these snakes could claim society for their own and unsheath themselves and just all live as snakes. Many of the days were hard. Not enough food to go around. Sometimes some apples, sometimes some meat, rabbit, or any sort of rodents they could hunt down. It was hard to live on the road, and it was very lonely when it was the only thing you had. But they managed to get by for as long as they could. But Miranda and Samantha eventually came to the conclusion that they needed something sustainable. They needed a sustainable way of living so they weren't constantly on the verge of starving. Some sort of comfort, some sort of oasis. So eventually they find themselves roaming the shores of the mid-Atlantic. And within their caravan, people die off one by one. But then they hear a rumor that there is a ship leaving. A ship of humans. A ship of salvation. They tried really hard to find this ship, and eventually they found it in the shores of Jersey. Eventually, Samantha and Miranda and the rest of the caravan that they were traveling with at the time, they went up to the ship itself and spoke to the captain, named Captain Jack. And they asked, "Is this the place?" And Captain Jack said, "If you're willing to work, and you can prove you're not a snake, then yes, this is the place." So in glee, Samantha and Miranda board the ship, as well as the caravan that joined them as well. They have to do a blood sample to prove that they're not these mysterious Lovecraftian cosmic snakes. They pass the test, but not everyone in their caravan does. It's very similar to the test from The Thing, where if you tamper with the blood enough, then it acts a certain way. But they found out that 2 of their people in their caravan were snakes, in fact, and they're eradicated from the ship, thrown into the water. Apparently they were undercover, trying to discover the secret network of humans still alive, as the snakes try to eradicate them before they can fully reveal themselves as in their snakeliness. So a number of years pass with Miranda and Samantha touring the Atlantic Ocean. They fish to get their food. They have a way to cook it on the ship. The times where they couldn't find fish were pretty rare, so they rarely went hungry. And even though in a typical society they may not have gotten along with everyone on their ship in those times, but the fact that everyone was fleeing a cosmic horror snake reality, that was enough of a pretense to get along. Though all the same power dynamics on the ship still took place as they do with humans. Like in zombie movies, it's never the zombies that are the greatest threat. It's always the humans they're living among. Any humans that would cave to greed, cave to their own folly, to their own flaws, their own resentment, their own hate. The ship did the best that they could to eradicate people like this, you know. They couldn't force anyone to behave or anything like that. It would make them no better than the snakes. So anyone that couldn't comply with the impromptu laws of the ship had to leave. You can call it Stockholm Syndrome, but Miranda and Samantha were always able to comply, always willing to. They just wanted to be free of the snakes, to live among humans, to live in a community, to live in a place that could be loved. There's a lot of political turmoil on the ship. On international waters, the snakes couldn't touch them legally. They still had their own laws. It wasn't just a random alien takeover. They had their own legislation. Sometimes the Snake Coast Guard would track them down and try to beckon them to return to some sort of nation, to say that they could live among the snakes. But Samantha would always remember the night that she ate that human flesh, and would always say, "No, we can never go back. I'm forever tied to the sea. It's the only way I know that I can be free among humans." And Miranda agreed. Captain Jack was a good leader for the most part. He definitely appealed to the emotional needs of the crew. Not in a culty way, but he never chose to be a leader, but he knew that there had to be an oasis for the humans, and he knew that no one else would do it. So he started to get this ship together, get a crew together, so that they could sail far away into the Atlantic Ocean and live there. And he knew that he would get lonely. He knew that they would get lonely as the only humans out there. But that's just how it had to be. In that deep, cold isolation. But he knew that as long as everyone wanted to stay together and to stay human, it would be okay, ultimately, in the end. at least that's what he thought for the most part. It was a turning point that happened in the southern Atlantic. They still had access to radio, briefly. There were some pirate radio ships that would roam the Atlantic, some for humans, some for snakes. But they would pick up signals from the nations of land, the nations of cosmic snakes. And then they heard on the news that it's official. The ratio of cosmic snakes to humans has finally hit a level so that all the snakes could be who they are, and that the planet society could finally be Lovecraftian snakes with all the black and blue scales, the black and red scales, the red and blue scales. They didn't look like snakes from Earth. They had the whiskers and the feelers, and they could unsheath their human skin to be who they were as the interdimensional deities that they have learned to become. And they also proclaim to bring other interdimensional deities to planet Earth as well. And if the humans didn't like it, then they would have to learn to deal with it. Out of everyone in the crew, Captain Jack took the news the hardest. He would sulk in his cabin for weeks after this initial broadcast came out. The rest of the crew would listen to updates about the emergence of this new fully snake society. They would lament, but some of them would reluctantly think that, yeah, it seems like they're doing it better than the humans. But Captain Jack didn't want any of it. Miranda and Samantha didn't want any of it either. In fact, they were the only ones that Captain Jack let into his cabin. They would spend long nights conversing, not just about snakes, but at the times before, when people just went to restaurants and bars without their lives being at risk, without being consumed by a deadly entity. They also talked about when the first waves of snakes started to take place. Miranda recalled her story when she went to college and saw that the cafeteria food was being tampered with, and that's how she found out about the snakes. Samantha's realization was also with food, when Miranda cooked the roast beast for Thanksgiving, which was just human, and she had to convert to cannibalism to blend in. Captain Jack would tell his story. He would talk about how he would read a lot of Lovecraft, day and night. He loved his work. He did a lot of fan art for it. Even made one fan-made video game of it. And then he saw one story that appeared online about a steady takeover of snakes, and he thought it was funny at first, so he did a lot of fan art for it. But then he learned that the fan art was real. He learned that the story was real, and therefore making his fan art real. And then he eventually learned that his cosmic horror snake fan art were in the halls of the governments of this new cosmic snake society that have overtaken the planet. And he reflected on these Lovecraftian deities and thought, when Lovecraft wrote those stories, they didn't quite have the same aim as these snakes did. The Lovecraft monsters didn't have any stake in bureaucracy or anything like that. They were just creatures of old that were here first. But these cosmic horror snakes, they knew the long game. They knew to occupy the planet, they had to overtake the humans. And it was the first night that Samantha and Miranda saw Captain Jack cry. They tried to comfort him, but he was never open with his emotions, and he just shooed them away. So, without anything better to do, Miranda and Samantha just left the cabin, leaving Captain Jack to his own emotions, his own demons, his own hand in the societal takeover of these snakes. Miranda and Samantha would have long conversations about their family, about the times before the snake takeover. But when they checked on Captain Jack again, he was missing. Tried to be nonchalant about it first, but Samantha and Miranda would ask around and think, where could he have gone? But they would ask and say, has anyone seen Captain Jack? Has anyone seen Captain Jack? But no one knew. He disappeared from his cabin. Clear enough that he wasn't on the ship. So it raised the question of who would be captain. There were plenty of palpable candidates on the ship. There's someone on the ship with Navy experience. Some people with some psychology experience so they could deal with people. And of course, Samantha and Miranda themselves, because they knew Captain Jack the most. It was a long debate about who should be captain. They had many long discussions over it. They lived with each other long enough to know about the ways humans can get together, and they knew since they could potentially be the last humans on Earth in this society full of cosmic horror snakes, they eventually leveled out an easy discussion. They decided that Miranda should be the captain of the ship. Hearing her story about confronting the dean of that college, they thought that she could be the most hands-on. Not everyone liked the decision, but, that's democracy for you. The real version of it. So Miranda was the one to captain the ship. first task was to find Captain Jack, at least his body. At some point, Miranda said, wait, let's go through his documents. Maybe there's a clue of why he disappeared. So they went through his folders and his papers. Binder, they found every Lovecraft story in a different PDF. And then Samantha, being Miranda's first mate and the obvious choice as such, she asked Miranda, you don't think he... Wait. So they go through all the papers, all through the PDFs, and they pull out the story for the Call of Cthulhu. And then Miranda grabbed it really quick and roamed through the papers. And she said, yes, of course, he must be here. She went through the story and she pointed out the coordinates for the city of Raleigh. It was known as the city that the Lovecraft deity Cthulhu resided. It was a city underneath the Atlantic Ocean. And Miranda said, yes, he must be here. So they realized that they already passed those coordinates, and they passed them right around the time when Captain Jack disappeared. So they retraced their route, and they eventually found those coordinates. And not too far from them, they saw Captain Jack's body float face down on the ocean. Tossed out they lowered a small boat so that they could retrieve his body. And then they pulled him up to the ship. And Miranda and Samantha were talking, and Miranda said, oh, we finally found his body. You know, maybe he wanted to commit suicide, but he wanted to do it in a way that felt right to him. And if he was into Lovecraft, then maybe he just wanted to get closer to that work by, you know, committing to a death that was close to it. To Cthulhu, to Raleigh, to Lovecraft. And then they turned over the body. And then Samantha said, look at this. And they saw that Jack's body was holding a note. It was miraculous that the ink was still intact, despite spending all those days in the water. Samantha pulled it off and she read the note. And she said, oh my God. And then Miranda said, what? Let me see. And then she read the note as well. And all the note said was simply, I found the city of Raleigh. And that concludes.
That's where the story ends?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I thought it would leave it as on an emotional note, you know, because that's kind of where the story was going, you know.
Well, wonderful stories.
Thank you. Yeah, that was kind of a deep story, I guess. You know, it wasn't like blatantly spooky, but it was definitely just like coping with the absence of human society, living among that, trying to find meaning within that somehow. It was a very dark story, nonetheless. And also the second and last one with like the cannibalism in it. That was a lot, you know.
Always love a little cannibalism.
Yeah. But I guess that concludes. I'll do it properly. That concludes tonight's Quarantine Spook Show. Good night.